We'll now continue where we left off on tape 2, working the inside range.
The entries can be from any of the, from the guntings, and when the punch comes, okay, when I hammer down, the hammer can scoop as well, coming back in here. And just as I flow along here, again, at any point, when I'm just kind of doing any of these variations, when that other punch comes, I can drive, lift this up, sweep it by, coming down here. When the punch comes, again, this forearm lifting, okay, wrench pull, as we'll go into more wrenches in a minute, okay, again, kind of bouncing, and if the punch comes, bang, okay, again, always, you know, can work the back up into here, and just kind of notice the rhythm. And anytime, bang, coming right in here, okay, again, into so many of the variations. So anytime, the point is that I will play with this thing, I may pass this. Anytime that other hand comes, though, okay, it can be jammed place, or it can be scooped. Anytime that punch comes, bang, you can lift this up into your elbow variations. So you play with the straights and you play with the hooks, constantly having your partner feed you so that you become aware of what's coming at you. Now, with the wrenches, again, any of our sectors, any of the guntings and the elbows, it's like the elbowing, the limbs, and the wrenches are so like brother-sister technique, because when the punch comes, the horizontal inside gunting right here can pull to a wrench, this wrench here. When the punch comes, the outside backhand gunting, or rather vertical gunting, pulls to the wrench here. The punch comes, inside backhand gunting, elbows to weaken, and then pulls to the wrench. At this point, you can pull and wrench, but let this go with one hand to go to the outside, or you can pull and let go with this hand to go to the inside. But the major reference points for the wrenching to make this break this down are 2 hands up on the outside, pulling here. It's all attacking the elbow, but it's just different reference points that you may find to do. 2 hands, this hand may be under because I just split, and now one hand is under. It may be that when the punch came, I lift this up and I uppercut, and now I wrench with one hand, the lead hand under and the rear hand here. It is possible that, now you don't want to be with 2 hands down, but you just happen to find yourself there. Maybe this guy all of a sudden, you know, this punch comes towards you, and whoa, geez, and bang. So you just lift this up here and then take it back up to a more advantageous position. Those 4 on the outside convert to the same 4 on the inside. Well, to give it a better from here. Okay, again, 2 hands up, because again, it might be that when the punch comes, when that jab comes, bam, bam, bam. Again, just taking it right here, and then it can go straight in. This hand could be under, because it might be that I was punching low, okay, and then you just find yourself here. You can wrench it. You don't try and achieve some of these reference points. You just find them. It's not like you are looking to put your hand low. It may be, so it can be 2 hands up. It can be this hand low. It could be that this hand was the low one. Again, if I tried to body hook, I miss it, come through here, you just happen to find it. Again, from this position, which is relatively vulnerable, if that other hand comes, you still can sector it. Okay. Again, the least favorite is this one. Again, or let's say take it from this hand. You don't want to end up in this place, but sometimes you do. You're just trying to do something. Oh, you slipped. And so you can still wrench this here, slapping the kidney, getting back to your other reference points. Okay. And finally, that when the punch comes, okay, that sometimes that you find yourself wrenching just through here. If his hand came down in front of me and I didn't get the wrench, that's okay, because you at least got to pass to the outside. So these are some of the ways that you can find your wrenches at the high line. At the low line, too, that when the punch comes, when he punches high, I can take it down when I'm punching low. Whoop, now I wrench low. It could be that I was scooping and I elbowed, and you can take it into the low line. Or it could just be that when he punches low, that you try and get it right off the bat, although generally speaking, I would recommend a wrench after you've moused somebody with the elbows and some pokes so that, again, just like with locking, they're not such a live wire. And speaking of locking, we're going to do a little bit of some of the ways that we enter into locking. In Kali, the way Gudo Inosanto has related it to us, you don't grab a punch out of the air and lock it. You, number one, have to cause X amount of pain distraction hitting before you would try and lock somebody up, so they're not just a complete live wire. So they're distracted while you achieve the lock to its point of no return. Another thing is that you don't stand out here thinking, well, I'm going to do this, that, and the other and get him into a lock. You try and hit and kick. Those are things you can try and set up to do. And if you find yourself in a reference point for locking, then you lock. So it just happens to come out of the flow. And another thing is that you make sure that you don't chase the lock. In other words, when I'm facing Mark and he punches, and I do this, and I try and do a downward arm bar, and he starts to pull away, I either go into another punch or I go into another lock. But I don't try and continue with that lock. It's shot. It didn't work. Skip it. Onward and upward. Okay? And finally, the last thing to remember before we go on with the locking is that when the punch comes, if I try and lock him, you have to be ready for whatever. If I'm trying to do a downward arm bar, let's say the punch comes, you have to be ready to defend in case of the failure. Again, the hook comes, okay, bam, you let it go, wrench, maybe then you take it to some other wrench or some other lock. So you're always ready to defend yourself. Now, that being said, let's go into just a little bit of some of the major entries and some of the locks that might get there as a demonstration of locks rather than teaching locks, because the amount of material in the lock training is the volumes and volumes of material there alone. So we want simply to present that issue and the principle of entry and how it's integrated into the other material. Okay, so I'm facing Mark, and the punch comes, okay, inside horizontal gunting, backhand, now he's into here, and we take it into the bent arm lock. Okay, now, again, there's so many details with the locking, making sure that this is not on his spine, bending this forward, knowing how to make it so it affects his shoulder, knee, stomp. Okay, again, the punch comes, again, bang, mousing this here, pulling now. Because the arm was straight, we take it into the wrapped bent arm, or rather a straight arm bar. Again, clutching. There's so many details that have to be, getting with the edge and clutching this hand on the wrist. If, at this point, again, in terms of the chase principle, if his main way of resisting this is to try and bend the arm to avoid the pain. So if he does bend the arm, then you just take it into the bent arm lock. If he bends it, the elbow down this way, then you clutch this, and this is a really nasty one. Okay, betwill, entwine, snake. Okay, it's really an arm wrencher. Again, when the punch comes, I vertical outside gunting, again, get the pain distraction several times. That could be 2, it could be 3 times. What I mean is the punch comes 1, 2, this could be 3. Now I take it in to pain compliance just above the right place. If, again, he resisted, then that's where you can take it into the figure 4, taking it back into here. If he resisted back the other way, you can take it back to here, or let me take this from the other arm for a moment so they can see this. When the punch comes, again, okay, I take this down. If he resists coming back the other way, can take it back here. If he resists back to straighten it out, I could maybe take it into a rib arm bar. Okay, if he resists by trying to stand up against the natural pain, bang, hit, and again into your reverse arm bar, etc. So you can go from lock to lock, or again, like I was saying, that when the right lead punch comes, okay, if at this point it didn't work, then that's okay. You just go back right into the hitting. But this is just an example of how the entries would go from the locking, or rather from the locking from the nerve hitting, so that he's loosened up and you have a connection and you're guarded on the way in, because it is very difficult when he jabs and retracts. Whoop, oops, I didn't get it. Boom, boom. It's pretty hard to catch that stuff. A lot of the locks will go into takedowns. There are the major ways that in Filipino martial arts that we effect a takedown, besides just knocking somebody out, is through sweeping, throwing, foot tripping, or trapping with the foot to effect a trip, and nerve takedowns, which we'll show a little bit of now. There's a lot of sweeping material, and we have, in recent years, been influenced by the Penjak Salat of Paul de Toirs, because it really fits in beautifully with the stuff, and his power lines are really good. But here are some basic examples of some of the different categories of sweeping and takedowns. Okay, when I'm facing Mark, okay, that when the punch comes, okay, vertical outside gunting, hit, taking into the armbar, and from the armbar, just sweeping back, or wallis, okay, and then bam, okay. We're just trying to isolate these issues. Again, seeing it from the other side, well, let's say he's still in his right lead, is jab cross, bang, okay, vertical gunting now. This is bad news, because when I elbow up here and step across, that even, you know, even without doing the sweep, he's on his way down. Okay, I can go, when the punch comes, inside entry, okay, to get to an outside sweep. Again, just taking this back down there, bang, and kneeling on your opponent. Okay, and again, that when he's in his boxer's lead, okay, and he throws his jab cross, okay, bang, okay, again, that this, anytime you're crossing him up this way, okay, or anytime you're taking it out this way, that, you know, again, it's down. So that's, and again, that's without the real sweep, which would really make it too hard of a fall. We can also use nerves to affect a takedown. Okay, by several examples of nerve takedowns would be that when he punches, okay, that again, I crash in here and I grab the well, okay, and then I stomp down, and he's going to be going down. Okay, the well, by the way, is that if you just focus in here, kind of tight for a second, that it's there's a triangle, and as anybody knows in Kali, we just love triangles, and one of them is that formed by the base of the clavicle, the neck where the neck intersecting into the shoulder, and the trapezius form this triangle. Any point of that triangle can be used in different ways. So this line here, this neckline, in the middle of it, you can feel a little like, feels like a little piano wire. If you press that down and in, it causes a great amount of pain. If you grab the clavicle and try and pull it down and forward, that causes pain. The trapezius, when I'm facing Mark, and when the punch comes, and I go, bam, just hammering on this is very painful. But again, let's say he's in the boxer's lead so you can see it better, that when the punch comes, bang, that grabbing down and in the clavicle or poking down and in to the nerve in the neck is, you know, if I just keep pushing, he's going to go down to the ground. Okay. Folks, he's not faking. Okay. And again, so when the punch comes, okay, the jab cross, let's say, bang, and I take this right into the throat and down, or the phrenic nerve, right, is just on the inside clavicle edge, or right on the clavicle, or down in the well, and just walk it forward and down, and he's going to go down. So that's one little set of nerve takedown examples. Also, you can take it to the inguinal. If you draw a line straight up the middle of the thigh, and right where the leg bends, okay, that's this point here is the inguinal nerve. And when Mark punches me, and I lift this up, okay, and then just kind of take this into the hip there, okay, and push that inguinal point. You see that reaction there? Kneeling on the thigh doesn't feel too good either. Okay, watch when he's going to switch his lead so you can see it a little bit better. Okay, again, when the punch comes, I'm going to circle it out this way. Again, just try and trap this here. Again, just poking. I'm still watching that other hand. I'm not staying here, but I'm going in and poking this down and taking it, bam. Again, you know, always trapping. See, again, the ground maneuvers. Again, we're going to be not going onto the ground too much, but there's just a ton of material of Kali just working the locks and the hitting on the ground, and even the low stances coming down from the southern Kali influenced, or rather Salat influenced Kali. But we're going to try and keep it on things that can blend with the kickboxing structure in these tastes, because those are the easiest things to achieve. They're the least specialized. Another way of, again, affecting a takedown that's partly nerve and partly just leverage is that when he's in the right lead and coming down here, elbowing the ribs for surprise, and then just kind of pulling this down. Watch one more time. Similar to that last one. When the punch comes, okay, again, hitting here or hitting here, and then just kind of pushing this straight and down. Again, you stay kneeling, and then you can work your way up just like we did working on the high line, you can travel. You can travel. And this one, this one sometimes, we rarely show this in demos because it looks very fake. It looks like Mark will be falling down for me. But there's a way in which you can just kind of step on the instep of the ankle at an angle, and it just takes him down. Now again, imagine that all of this is in conjunction with pain distractions of hitting and in combination, finding it. You don't just march in and do this because you're going to get pounded. It has to be at the right moment after you've accomplished X amount of pain distraction. But when Mark punches and I effect an inside entry, if I just stomp and roll this at an angle, you know, again, whoop, scoop, kick, bam. Because again, as part of the, stay up, will you? That is, when he's in his left lead, okay, as part of the, notice that on the ground in the same way that part of the kicking series is that when he punches, okay, they do have lift kick, and there's scooping as part of this kick series, and lift and scooping and point kick. All of those things are in there standing, so of course they're going to also be on the ground. Somebody falls, then you go for the kick. Now, another series of ways in which takedowns are effected, which are very kind of distinctively collie, are the foot trapping methods. Sometimes we refer to them as cow kit, on call, or tapak. Tapak means simply to step on somebody's foot, instep. So when I'm facing Mark right to right, okay, that when he steps in to punch, I just angle out and trap with the lead foot. Now again, it could be a real stomp or it could just be a placement. But at this point, we have several major placements of the hand. We have, first, trapping with this foot, this placement. But notice as the lines I'm going to be using. A line coming out and forward, 45. This is his weakest line. A line coming forward from the line he's standing on. That's also a very weak line. The line going back into his outside of the 45, it's weak but less weak. And the line coming to his front outside 45, which is the least vulnerable line, but still it can be affected. So we're going to mainly be working, pulling him either this way or to his front 45 to off-balance him. So again, when he punches, okay, and I effect an entry and I step here, one hand, if my right hand is in front, I take his head and I turn it, and again, I can have my fingers pressing in the eyes to decrease his resistance. I can grab them, I can pinch the nose, but for right now for the training, I just take the head, turn it, and notice that I not only take him in the direction, but I step in this direction so that my body mass is with it. And I will try and follow him down so I don't have to recover the advantage. Okay, the punch comes, I'm on the outside with the lead foot trap. This one can be, okay, with the right hand in front. It could also be with the left hand behind, again, grabbing the well, and you take him down. Now, again, I'm not going to take him down every time, maybe just every other time. he's my friend, he lets me do these things. Okay, it can be that when the punch comes, okay, again, coming here, that the left hand comes out, and again, straight back is bad, but back and to the 45 is even worse. Again, I'm trying to help him up, but if he wasn't your friend, then you'd be hitting him on the way down. You'd be hitting all the way down. So, once again, to review this little group of three here, when the punch comes, okay, I've effected an outside entry. The right hand into the lead hand in front, taking him down. The rear hand in front, taking him down. The rear hand behind, grabbing the well, taking him down. Now, these same ones can be used to affect a pull to the front line. So, in other words, when he punches and I go out here, okay, this one doesn't work going to the front line so well, but you can grab behind. So if I went up and I backhanded, then that's when I would pull to the front line. Notice that I step back with it and you just drop your weight and he will tend to go. But if he does capture his balance, that's when you travel. What the travel means is that when he punches, okay, bang, we're out here, and I start to pull back, and he catches his balance, if he didn't go all the way down, then you just travel to the other foot, and then he goes down. Okay, that's what we mean by traveling. It's almost as though the analogy used by Dan one time was just, kind of hopping across the river on stones. Although those stones are his feet in this case. And any time that you pull him to his front line, be prepared to travel with your lead or your rear foot, your right or your left foot, to complete his going down to the ground. So in other words, when he punch comes, okay, again, I come to the outside line. Now I grabbed with the right before. This time, when the punch came, I was sliding with this one, okay? And in this case, if it was my left behind, I would only initiate the push, or rather the pull, to take it over with this one. Now, before I stepped with my right foot to travel, but this time I just keep the pressure on and travel with the left foot, and just would take him down, but we don't want him, he doesn't need to be crawling off the ground every time. The punch comes, okay, and again, I step with the right foot. Now, the right hand, if I swept by, let's say, thumb to the eye and grabbed here, again, I make sure that this is checked, and again, I rock back with the pull, and at this time it came behind, so you just take it to the line. So again, when the punch comes, to review, with the lead going to the outside, lead foot trap, but if my right hand is in front, I can pull to the front line. If my right hand is behind, I can pull to the front line. And if my left hand, this would be very awkward, so we don't do this one in this case, but if it was behind, I can start this way and then take over with my right hand. And you can travel the foot. Now, the punch comes, okay, and for whatever reason, maybe I kicked with this foot, and now I trap with my left foot, but I went to the outside. Again, when the punch came, bam, bam. Again, I can pull back on the 45 to take him down, or from here, I can take it on the front of the head and peel it down. And again, from here, I can start with the right hand and then take it to the left hand and take it down. Okay, so that's going with the left foot, or the rear foot. See, in other words, if I'm facing mark right to right, that when the punch comes, okay, that bam, bam, now it's the rear foot that stomped on it, and we take it here. But from this rear foot position, we can also take it to the front line. So again, so if I stopped and I'm out here, you kind of pull it here, and again, get ready to travel off to that other line, and if I just travel through, he's going to be going down. When the punch comes, okay, and again, I drive this knee and I end up here in the stomping position, the left hand can pull, the right hand can pull from the back side, both from the back side. Again, squeezing the fingers in there to the nerves on the neck. Anytime you can be affecting nerves rather than just a mass surface, grabbing the nerves inside by the sternocleidomastoideus muscle, that will make him not resist. And finally, of course, that from the outside, be grabbing with the right this way and then pulling it down this way. Notice that again, I don't just stand here and pull him, but I drop my weight in that direction to give it authority. Now, he's in, let's put him in boxer's lead. Okay, and I'll be here too for the moment. So we can see this going to the inside. Now, when he punches, I just scoop this out and go straight in, and I pull this back and notice that I'm trapping with my lead foot. Now I went to the inside trapping with the lead foot, and the main hand reference points are that I can take it with my left hand back this way to his 45, or again back to this forward. See how it crosses him over? And again, I pull the whole thing, and that will get him down. The punch comes, okay? Again, I just kind of cramming straight in, okay? And the left hand taking it this way, okay? And then it could also have been if I hit there. So in other words, the punch comes, bam, okay? If I have this happen over here, then it's my right hand takes him back this way. And again, I cross back, okay? So the main reference points of when I go kind of central and want to take him to his outside line is the left hand, okay, again, starting from left to left here. Left hand pulling this way, right hand pulling this way, And it can even be, although this is kind of gets really specialized, is that when the punch comes, okay, bang, elbow up, okay, and coming around to the well. Now I'm kind of inside the grab here, and the well takes it all the way down to the ground. Watch one more time. Then when the punch comes, okay, I just kind of cram in, bam, 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 pushing this up, and the well all the way down to the ground, and I step off the foot, because if I don't step off the foot, it's going to hurt his foot. Again, just stepping on the foot and throwing somebody down, the chances of damaging the ankle are really great. Okay, when the punch comes, and I go right up the middle, again, I was on this side, and I just felt I want to cross back behind to this line. Again, so I'm doing an entry to the inside, coming up the middle, but if this is where I ended up with my left hand on the left side of his neck, I can cross behind, and from the cross behind, since it's pulling to his front line, just be ready to travel with this foot to take it back that way, or to jump and take it with this other foot back that way. When the punch comes, okay, and again, coming in, and again, the entries could be that when the punch comes, bam, just up here. I can grab, if I hacked this way, thumb, I pull from the outside. So the hand can be on this side, the hand can be on this side and pulling. And finally, if I went with this hand, it would again just transfer it back to the other side. And again, with Kali, again, if I step off the ankle, I would just run in this direction now. I'll try and do it gently, but I would kind of run through him, tossing his head under his arm. Okay, and it's a nasty ride, especially if you interrupt the middle of it with a knee. Okay, so that's another throw that can be affected. Again, anytime when he punches, okay, anytime I foot trap, I may just decide to take it to here and sweep. You may decide to abandon the foot trap and go into the sweep. When he punches, okay, I step out at more of an angle, so I trap with my rear foot, what was my rear foot. And again, if I want to take him to his outside 45 line, then I can take it with this hand as a transfer. And notice that you turn his body. But when the punch comes, okay, again, I'm grabbing behind the nerves on the neck, and I'm jamming the hand, and I'm pulling it back this way. Again, dropping back this way, and if at a certain point I wanted to, I can take the foot there and sweep it out. Then when the punch comes, okay, and I step here, again, I can take it this way and even just transfer the feet and take it that way. When the punch comes, okay, I foot trap this way, and I just decide that for whatever reason, bang, trapping this in here and pulling it to the front 45, again to here, or again to sweeping it out this way. Again, because you see, you've set him up. This is not, wham, and a pull. He's now in a weakened position. If you just take it here, again, always pinning that, and I'm aware that if that kick comes, there are the kick destructions. Bam. Okay, so that's, I remember back in the good old early days when I was working with a friend of mine, and I indicated a nerve hit to the thigh. And we'd been pretty gentle with each other up to that point with the nerve hits. And he said, well, no, wait a minute, Steve. I want to feel what it's like. I'm glad it was him that asked rather than me, because it was really dramatic. I mean, he just, just even with just a good little tap, he just couldn't walk for the next 15 minutes without pain. So when the punch comes, okay, again, stepping, because I stepped out here, and even if the other punch comes now, see, still here, and we still have these foot traps with this hand taking it this way, this hand taking it this way, this hand taking it this way to this line. You always have your choice of the front or the back 45. And for the final thing with this is that you can travel as much as you need to. When the punch comes, I step on the outside, I travel to the inside, travel to this one, and down. You see, so you can step wherever you need to. John LaCosta had a lot of humor, and he would walk up to Dan sometime and just kind of casually stand on both of his feet and bam. Anyway, so that is some of the foot trapping series. So there are a number of ways to get people to the ground. And getting them to the ground and what you do with them on the ground and certain body manipulations in general are in the province of what we call dumog. And dumog is just grappling aspects, but it's not the kind of what normally looks like wrestling, as you'll see. It's body manipulations and ways of setting people up for a hit or getting them down onto the ground with hits and manipulations. So for example, and some of these things are very overlapping with locking. So for example, here's an example of really what's, again, in the class of nerve locks, because you're not racking the joint up, but you're just grinding a nerve. Okay, so in this, and when Mark punches, I split up the middle, or I would tick, or whatever, I somehow get up the middle here, and now I take, he's been, distracted, I take the edge of the arm, and again, the nervy part inside, just the flat of the muscle, not on the flat of the muscle with the flat of my muscle, but with my edge, you grind into the edge here, you try and bring his elbow all the way to your body, you grind this in, and then you just take his elbow straight to the ground. Now, if you really do this properly and you put your head here, he's going to butt into your own, he's going to get head butted. But I'm going to do this gently, but you grind this down. And again, you could drive this onto the foot, or you could take it back out this way. You see, and again, bam, bam. So that's, I just refer to that as the hug lock, because you're hugging that arm to there. Okay, and again, when the punch comes, and I try and do that, if he stiffs me, if he stiffs the arm, that's okay. Then you go into a wrench, or you just hammer away, or you go into here. Okay, so you wrench or you hammer, and then he's loosened up, and you can go back to this. Now, if it slips again, then you just have wrist lock. And again, this is another way you can get into wrist lock. But so they're close by, one thing and another close by. Also, there are ways that you can tug on the body. So from the punch comes, inside parry hit, and then from here, again, not on the flat, but kind of on the bulge of the muscle here where it's nervy. Okay, now I'm going to do this gently, but still watch what happens to his head. Okay, now if I pull that further, it's going to be into here, even if it's rocked back. Now from here, we come back up with this, and either throw this way, again, as we showed before, or that's when we can go into the locking. Now again, this can be just done as a choke, or you can lift this up to rack the neck. Again, when the punch comes, okay, inside back, and whoop, bam, okay, and pulling this up. Okay, and again, if you just didn't get it, then you're top ox series. The punch comes, I go to the outside, okay, distracted. Again, not face up, because this you can resist, but this is pain, and the nerve pain causes a lack of resistance. Again, bang, again, up to wham, or when the punch comes, okay, coming up here, and I whittle it down, and then drive this up to either, to, again, this can be, see how I grab over, this comes from stick. You just squeeze, and there's a choke. I'm trying to do this gently. I want to make it through the entire series. Okay. Again, when the punch comes, and I inside gunting, backhand, and if I slam this elbow sandwich on here, from here you can take it to other hits, or from here you just go bang, and I just drag him to the ground. Okay, and again, hitting all the way, laughing as we go. Okay, okay, and it can be even again this a version, a hand version of the outside deflection. The when his punch comes again, see again, outside deflection, bam, and hacking down here. But when we hack, we keep it here, and again pulling, just pulling all the bam all the way down to the ground. Okay, or it can be that when the punch comes, okay, bam, just pulling back into hits and then stepping through. Again, so again, body manipulations. It can be that let's say he's in his left lead, yeah, and say he starts with his cross, okay, and I'm out here, okay, or I come to here, and when that other hand comes, you see you come in deep, okay, and again, these hacking from the other side of the neck. Now, in the Thai method of Muay Thai, they would hug this and they would start to, go into plum, and manipulations with this, plum. But with Kali, what they would rather do is just twist this a little bit and then just kind of jump this all the way to the ground, bam, and slam this into the ground. I'm trying to hold him off the ground, but in Kali, you'd be taking this all the way down and trying to end things. Clearly, we're talking about fighting. This is not a sport. That's why the terms like suntukan or panantukan, it's translated boxing sometimes. It really means fist fight, as you can see, where this is not sportive aspects. Again, when the punch comes, okay, that if any time you do grab the neck, you see how I try and when I pull it to me, there's a twist to effect, so it makes it weak when you take it down here, pressing against the shoulder, or see, again, twisting it so that it's a weak It weakens the whole body so you can take the person down. Okay. Again, from the reverse split, there are a number of interesting variations that, let's say he's in his boxer lead. Then when the punch comes, okay, this is the reverse split, this position. One is that when you hook the neck on this side and I raise my elbow, kind of pulling this and twisting this, it will take his head under, okay, and it will take him down. Okay, bang. You don't want to do this real fast, okay. The other variation is that when the punch comes, okay, in the left lead, the punch comes and I come up here on the deep side, again, you just grab it all and you take the whole thing under and he'll just go with it and it'll be again, bang, you know, as another way of getting somebody down. There's a lot of material in this class, as people that have experienced Dan Inosanto's seminars know. Again, in one of the many conceptual triangles of Kali, we want to remember that there is a difference between technical skill and fighting skill, and it's the drilling method by which that triangle is completed and you make your technical skill functional fighting skill. Again, for all of these drills, you want to have ways that you're being aware of developing your timing, your speed, your power, your focus. Clearly, we're emphasizing the ability to flow in the structure here. And the drills that you do are always drills where you choose between A and B. So that one of the sayings is, we play so that we may learn. In other words, but the play is, what that means is allowing kind of a creative free use within a given set of material. So in previous tapes, in the Essential Self-Defense tapes, we've talked more about the kickboxing aspects, the basic hands, feet, knees, elbows, and how we dawat ug hatag. In other words, give and receive, exchange, counter for counter, play with the material back and forth. And we have several ways in which we can take the material on these tapes that we've gone through, the Kali Empty Hands, and do the same thing. One of the first methods that we've already done a little bit is numerato. Now, numerato, technically, classically, strictly speaking, means feeding the numbers. He'll feed me an angle number 1, an angle number 2, an angle number 3, or with a boxing material, he'll feed me, let's say we were going to do this in order. He faces me in a right lead. He throws the jab, and I would go and work with the jab. He throws the cross, and either work on the inside or go to the outside. He throws the right hook, okay, and I deal with the right hook. He throws the rear hook, okay, and I deal with the rear hook. He throws the uppercut, okay, bang, and I go with here. He throws the uppercut, bam, okay, and then he throws the low jab, okay, bam, and he throws the low cross. In other words, if that was the order that I wanted to say I was going to have him throw things in, whatever order you establish of your particular numbering system of angles. But what we're doing rather than strict is a loose version. In other words, the essence of numerato is angulation, showering him with strikes between his hits. Okay, so in other words, when he, I like it being loose because when he punches, okay, again, bam, you know, you just work away and you don't know what the next strike is that it's going to be. It might be that hand and it might be the same hand, okay, bam, okay. And again, you can use any of the dumog that's in here, that when he comes around you can throw in a lock, then I let go so that you can just play with it. Again, when bam, this comes in, you can step on the foot, just give it a little jerk so you don't take it all the way down, break the flow. Then you let it go so the flow can continue. Okay, bang, whoop, bam. You're taking it into these things, and it can, I go back to invite, actually to invite sometimes the straight punch. Now, notice that that is all defending against his attacking. There are different rhythms of exchange and different kinds of exchange. So one of the kinds of exchange is where he's constantly attacking and I'm just trying to get back 3 or 4 hits to his 1 while being aware of whatever he may feed back to me. One of the drills that we do is we refer to as the Siko Ordibis drill. In other words, elbow, backhand. In the Illustrissimo system, Ordibis means backhand, but actually just kind of really means over again, repeat, do it over again. So some people don't understand that means backhand, so I'm saying elbow, backhand drill. This is to constantly counter any of his obstructions. That's what we learn in this drill. So when I'm facing Mark, okay, as we worked with before, that when I punch and he blocks this with his right hand or his left, I go into an elbow and a backhand. When he blocks the backhand, this is the first part of the cycle. It's a cycle drill. It's a cooperative drill. I wipe, I cover hand, I elbow, I backhand. He blocks it, so I wipe, I cover hand, I elbow, I backhand. And every time I wipe, I should step and backhand. I wipe, I angle, cover, backhand. Now, the next hit that I add is that this cover is actually a hack. And again, it could be to the face before it comes down to cover, or it could just hack straight to the arm. Again, I still elbow and I backhand. And when he blocks it, again, I come to the face or hack on the arm and then elbow, backhand. The next line that I add is that if I'm facing frontal, kind of frontal to him when I wipe this, I go to here. But if I turned my body, torsi, this also works the torsi or the twisting, and specifically in the waist this time, we can elbow down here before we hack, before I elbow. Again, I come up to the backhand and I wipe and I elbow down. And again, this can monitor, it can go in here, elbow poke, and then again I elbow and backhand. The next line that we add on here is that I elbow, I hack, and I go into a sandwich hand. I go here. Again, this could go here or it could go here because there may be cases, for example, one of those things that this teaches is that if I was here and he blocks with his rear hand, okay, so I just change it to here because this line's closed, but maybe I can still get this hand, this line. Or and if it went too far, then that's when we go into the scooping. But back to the drill again. I go here and I elbow and I backhand. Now, the wipe, because of the knife training, is really generally going to be a poke, an attempt at a poke. And it could be palm up, it could be palm down. Why would it be palm up? Because if my palm is down, notice that I will have a better chance of running into an obstruction than if it's palm up. It just sneaks through better sometimes, even just with the general entries that when he punches, sometimes we go like this. Why? Because when my elbow is tucked in, it avoids an obstruction better, okay? But the problem with that is that it's also a little bit more, unless you're really, really super accurate, it's a little bit more accurate, awkward to poke that way sometimes. And that's why, you know, unless this is good, and this sneaks by better, but this has easier to, you know, if you run into bone, this feels worse. Whereas this, if I tapped his forehead, it doesn't feel so bad. Back to the drill. So when he blocks me with his forearm, when he gives me an inward block, okay, and I go to here, the main bits of this hit in the first level of the cycle is that this wipe is really thought of as a finger jab. I can hack with the backhand elbow, hack with the forearm, I can sandwich with the hand, I can elbow. And then this comes back up here, and again, this slides through. But now, we're going to expand the feed here a little bit. In other words, that when I go with my backhand after this elbow here, he can block with the left hand, or he can lift the right hand up to block, in which case this develops my sensitivity to going into this line, okay, and then back to here, back into this line. Again, I come back now. Are you expected, is it assumed that for every time he blocks, that in reality you would go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5? No, but you're being taught the possibilities. It might be where you go 1, 4, 6, and then when he blocks that, this slides through, and I go directly to this, and then I backhand, and when that blocks, okay, that I do get the poke in, and I just go directly to the elbow. So it's any combination of those things, but this is an easy way to remember the possibilities. Again, when I backhand, if he just lifts that same hand, if you obstruct with this can come under, okay? And again, back into the sandwiching, okay? And he feeds this, and again, you start to add more and more material as you go along. So as I go up here, I, again, mouse it here, you know, hammer, and then finally, somewhere along the line, he blocks that when I bring that up to his face. So you're learning to, anytime he brings up that obstruction, and again, if I start to go towards him and he pushes towards me, it teaches me to learn to go with that and wrench. If at this point, when I elbow, sometimes I can vary the feed by, instead of giving him the backhand, I give him this hand. And when he blocks that, I have several options. One is to just go roll it back to the elbow. The second option, when I give him this hand, is that when he blocks it, I just cut. Because if he's jamming this more towards me, out towards me at a 45, then I just cut. Or when he jams it towards me, I lift the elbow. Now trap down the elbow again, go back into the feed. Okay, again, I go down into the elbow and I backhand and he blocks across and I'm hacking back down here. Now, instead of giving him the backhand, I punch. And when he blocks the punch, okay, I go here. If after the elbow I throw this punch and he blocks with the lead arm, again, I just scoop it back out to here and go back into the drill and continue. Okay, so this is, notice that we're working all of this, okay, and anytime I just bring something up to the face, he just doesn't, he tries to, put something up there as an obstruction, and I learn to counter his obstruction. So in the first drill, in the spirit of numerato, even if it's not strict numerato, in the spirit of numerato, he's feeding me attack, and I'm trying to destroy as much as I can between each of his attacks. In the counterattacks drill, or the elbow backhand drill, what we're doing is constantly learning to counter his obstructions, which, of course, we now combine. These drills, there are a number of kinds of drills, the give and receive drills, dawat or hatag, the give and receive drills, which can be, it could be loose in terms of where he punches me, and I destroy it somehow, and then I feed back, and he destroys it somehow. Good. And then he comes in here and he comes back. But guess what this leads into? That's really the evolution of lubud. Okay. In other words, lubud is it's a washing term. You wash a white shirt with a black shirt, you get lubud. You get a blend. You get a mixed up. Another term that we use often is hubud. Okay. Now, in Visayan, that means untie. In Tagalog, it means undress. So there's some controversy over this because there was a time when some fairly indignant Filipino guy came up to Dan at one of his seminars and said, Guru, you're asking us to undress. No, it's just in the Visayan dialect it means untie, because when Mark punches, okay, I tie. Now he unties, okay? Okay, now again, this is also a good place where when he hits, I can meet it or I can pass it, okay? Now, I can throw straight, and when I go straight, he can gunting, or I can vertical gunting. So notice that if I pull the hand out, I'm feeding him so that he knows that he should be doing a horizontal inside. Okay, now I brought my hand out so I know I can do horizontal inside, adding little hits. Okay, one of the things that we learn at this range is the countering of the elbows, and that's really convenient because when Mark lifts this up and he elbows, this is the kop or catch. Now I can lift this up, and this lift is a nerve hit, okay? Again, hit, and then I elbow, and he can jam it towards me and lift it up and bring it back towards me. So we can trade this. But another variation is that this time I was late, and so I had to wave, another version of the wave. In other words, when he traps me down and he comes back with his elbow up, see, at this point there's no way I can stop this. So I have to learn to torsi, lift this up. Actually, this is some people would call this also, some people wave, also is lift. So I lift this, but in this case it's a wave action. I lift this up and I try and get my elbow back, and he can wave with his hand if he couldn't jam it. So he waves it and I wave it. And so you notice that when he lifts this up and he elbows me, that the wave is going to also come across the eyes in terms of true, more combative. It could also be that when he passes this over and he elbows back, see, I felt this was too trapped. It's too late for me to do a catch, and that's why I alsa. Okay, the alsa is the lift. If I just, when the elbow comes, if I just moved back enough and went like that, that's pa'awas, or to passing it by, parry. Okay, so I pa'awas, or when the thing comes, I alsa. Okay, now, he could catch and jam the kind of jamming catch, bang. He lifts it up, he returns, but I decide that I can wave. Okay, again, we put in little hits. He somehow tosses it back. I lift it back there, comes back up here. Again, I jam it and bring it up here. Okay, and bring it back up, he elbows, come back up here, and again, I decide to lift it up. On the lift, again, there are always, if I can get a little hit in here, okay, he lifts it up, lift it up there, little hits, again, okay, an elbow, and he lifts it up, okay, so there's always these as many little hits that you can put in. Now, again, remember that it's a general principle. Give and receive is a principle of training. Where do you want to focus the training? We can give and receive with kicks, as we've done in previous tapes. We can do it with boxing punches. We can do it with this inside kind of trapping. You can do it even with sweeps. We can do it with locks, that when Mark punches, okay, it could be numerato feed, which means that I go lock, and a lock, and then he punches, okay, because I imagine I failed, and I go lock, you know, lock, okay, lock, and he feeds, okay, and I go into a lock, a lock, a lock. So that's kind of going from learning to go lock, lock, lock. It could also be that when he punches, I go lock, and he just resists in some way. So he wipes it, okay, and I go into a lock. And maybe he just changes the angle, and I wipe it. And maybe he wipes my arm down, and I wipe it. Now he wipes it with the other hand, okay. So he's defending, and I'm learning to counter his defenses, okay. And then finally, we can go, so that would be more where he's just feeding the defense, and I'm countering the defense. And finally, we can go lock, counter for counter. So he punches. Now again, we don't take it to point of no return. I lock, he counters with a lock, okay? I counter with a lock, he counters with a lock, okay? I counter with a lock, etc. And we go back and forth. This is a really good way of developing lock sensitivity. We can add into the method, of course, because at any point when he punches and we just enter somehow and I lock, he may not counter with a lock, he may surprise me and just counter with a punch, okay? And you just kind of learn to sector it, bam, and then he countered with a defense, and now maybe he just counters with his lock. And that's how we go back and forth. On the locking energy, again, just the locking alone, just, ooh, it's such a deep art. Every aspect of Kali, we're just trying to give a survey of Kali. We're trying to give a substantial survey, but man, every one of these categories is just fathomless. Because when I try, for example, I have to know to not just how to affect this lock, but to keep him from his escape route. And not only that, but if he resists stiffing the arm towards me, how to take it down here to a wrist lock. Or if he stiffs back towards me, to take it into this arm bar. Or if he stiffs it and it goes out in front of me this way, to take it back into other locks. And that's part of what you learn from the locking flow, from this kind of flow training. So you are expected that you would use these methods. Obviously, you can't do this by yourself. It's not like, you know, form number one and looking at the tape and getting the form correctly. It has to be, it's an energy-based system. Kali is very energy-based. In other words, feeling somebody else's pressure towards you. And these training methods are part of what makes Kali so unique and alive. Again, I want to give my gratitude and indebtedness to Dan Asano for his enormous generosity with this knowledge, and dedicate my respect as well to Juanito Lacosta, who was clearly an amazing mind and an amazing spirit. And he had an interesting saying: Kali is complete but not finished. Because what he was saying is that it has all the categories. I mean, it's got all the different kinds of striking and throwing and locking and tripping and grappling. It's got all of these different categories, but there's just no way that you can possibly cover every possible combination in a lifetime. And so you have the roots of creativity through taking the roots of the technical material and the drills. You get creative. And John Lacosta used to say to Dan, you're going to think you're a genius, but it's the training method.